I'm Kathy Sanderson. I am a spiritual therapist and inner child healer. Today I want to talk to you about why it's so important to validate how you felt as a child. And not only that, but it's important for you to understand that whatever you felt was true. Whatever you felt as a child is how you felt. Whatever someone tells you how your childhood was, what you experienced, doesn't matter. What is really, really important is how you felt as a child, because it's that little child whose needs didn't get met that is still continuing to call the shots, to run the show. That little girl or little boy who didn't feel loved is still going to feel unloved, even if they are in a loving relationship. That little girl or boy who didn't feel heard as a child is going to be the one that when you walk up to a group of people and they're talking and you start talking, they walk away. Or you're in a group and you talk and no one's listening, they talk over you. Because how you felt as a child is still ruling your life now in some way. You may have a wonderful partner, you may have a wonderful relationship, yet at school you were bullied, so now you're being bullied at work. It's always interlinked. And one of the biggest blocks to healing I have found with my clients is the guilt and the feeling that nothing bad happened, so there is something wrong with them because they've got no reason to feel that way. It's so important that you allow yourself to validate how you felt as a child. It is so important that that little girl who didn't feel heard, that little boy whose daddy never spent time with them, it's so important that how they felt is acknowledged. Because if you were to talk to your parents, they would tell you, well, hang on, I was at work, I was trying to bring money into the house so that you could go to your football lessons, so that you could go and see your friends, so you could have nice clothes, so that we had a roof over our heads, so we had food on the table. And then all that does is say to your little one, well, yeah, come on, you're just making it up. Grow up. That doesn't help. And that's the way that people tend to think of it now, isn't it? And you're just expected to deal with it. That happened, shit happens, live with it, move on. Which is great, but if you can't because your little one is still feeling unheard, unloved, then you get stuck and you just end up beating yourself up even more that you can't move on. Now, another huge big block to validating how you felt as a child is knowing that your parents had it so much worse than you. That was my huge block. That was like, I was teaching inner child healing. I was healing people through their inner child. And I didn't realize that I had those inner child issues, which makes complete sense because we are always led to what is going to help us, what we need. So when as a healer, when clients are coming with the same kind of things, and you know where you've got to work. But I could not see that my childhood had damaged my sense of I am, because my mum had a terribly narcissistic mum, and she used to tell me all the time of all the things that happened to her. So I didn't have any of that. I was never abused. I was never physically abused. My dad may have hit me once or twice, badly. There was always a spatula that came out and hit you. But I'd never have had anything that would have took you away by a social worker. They would never have been deemed as unfit parents. They both went to work. We had lovely holidays. We had a nice car, had a lovely house. I went to the clubs after school. I had nice clothes. I had what I wanted. So, it had to be me, didn't it? It had to be there's something wrong with me. And the counsellors that I went, because I was in and out of counselling from the age of 16, counsellors that I went to until the age of 30 all reinforce this. I found out about displacement as in my 20s, my early 20s, and I was like, oh my God, that's what happened to me. So displacement is when another child arrives and the older child feels put out. Oh my God, that's what happened to me. Oh, it's because I was jealous. I was jealous of my brother. You know, I couldn't handle that he'd come along and my mum gave him attention and I didn't have attention. It was all my fault. So that's what I believed, because I believed there was something wrong with me, something inherently wrong with me. Because I didn't have this thing to look back and say, yeah, I was beaten, yeah, I was sexually abused, yeah, my parents used to put cigarettes out on me, or we didn't have enough food in the cupboard and they used to go and spend the money on drink or drugs. I didn't have any of that. So what did I have to feel bad about? Seriously, what did I have to feel bad about? And that's how I went on. You know, I never even thought that there was anything that I needed to heal in my childhood. I didn't realise that parents arguing all the time really damages children. And there are those big T traumas that I spoke about of sexual abuse and physical abuse and all of those. But there are the little T's, the little traumas that build up like a dripping tap. And I had those. My mum desperately wanted me to have so much better childhood than her, and she spoke about it often. So I'd feel guilty because I wasn't having this life that she wanted me to do. I was bad. There was something wrong with me that I wasn't having this that she was trying to give me. But if I have a mum who is depressed and who can't meet my healthy narcissistic needs, then that's a little T trauma, isn't it? That's something that's constantly impounding on my sense of I am. If I have parents who are fighting all the time to such extent that I have to hide and I don't want to be there, that I don't want to bring friends home from school on those certain days that dad comes home from the pub and the arguments start. Well, that's damaging, isn't it? But I'd shut all that away because that was in the past, wasn't it? If I was always fighting with my brother for attention, doesn't that mean that I wasn't getting the attention that I needed? Again, in my healthy narcissistic needs, I need to know that I'm worth listening to, that I'm worth spending time with. So all of these things build up. I needed to know that it wasn't my job to make either my mum or my dad happy, that I am deserving of love and attention, whether I make them happy or not, that they should actually want to spend time with me, not me have to do things so that they will spend time with me. Is this why I brought my diabetes into the picture? There's so many ways that I can see now that my diabetes helped me. Being able to understand why you feel that way is really, really powerful. And what's more powerful is going back and meeting your inner child so that you can tell them that, yes, I understand why you feel this way. I can understand how you feel that way because of what's going on around you. And I understand it. And I feel that way too. I felt that way. Well, how you feel is real. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. The power of connecting with your inner child is like nothing else I know. And in the comments, I'm going to put a link to my video so that you can practice reconnecting with your inner child. But I would say, if this is something that you're watching and you're thinking, yeah, right, well, grab a notebook or a paper and write down the things that are wrong with you. And it might sound like a really strange thing to do, but write down all the things that you think are wrong with you. And then perhaps pause this video while you're doing that, because you want to have time to write it. So now you've wrote those things, look at them. Are they true? If they're not, scratch them off. You don't want them. Scratch them off. But then look at, why do I believe this about myself? Why do I believe that I can't get anything right? What's the first memory that comes up for you about not being able to get anything right? And write that down. And pause me so that you can write it down a bit more. And then think about perhaps 10 years ago. What didn't I get right? Why couldn't I get this right? What went wrong? What didn't I feel like? Why did I feel like I can't get anything right? And write that memory down. And pause me and really write that memory down. Your next one, that's your teens. What was it you felt like you could never get right? And write that memory down. Again, pause me. You want to put all of your feelings into it. And then think about your childhood. What was it you felt like you could never get right? And write that down. And pause me again. So you've wrote them all down. Look at your childhood and see what that relates to. Because that's where we need to work. That's how you can see how your experiences as a child have created that belief. So it's up to you now, isn't it? Is that you? What happened around that time that's shown you that you can't get things right? Were you expected to do things that no child should be expected to do? Did you have to be your parents' comforter? Did you have to do things around the house that no child should be asked to do, that is incapable of doing? Did it just seem like whatever you did, you got it wrong? So journal on that and see what comes up. And then go to the link in the comments and go back and reconnect with your little one and show them that that's not true. There's part 1, part 2 and part 3 in the comments. Do them all. They're only going to benefit you. I hope this is just giving you this little insight into how important it is, no matter what your parents went through as children. We're not concerned about this in your healing. What we are concerned about in your healing is you. At least the sun's come out. Yay, no snow. We had snow yesterday at Easter. So I apologise that I've gone really white. Nothing I can do about it. The importance of being able to know that what you experienced was real, and just because it wasn't as bad as somebody else's doesn't mean it hasn't hurt you so badly. As a child, I would rather have got hit than sent to my room. And whilst being hurt physically is very, very painful at the time, it doesn't tend to continue. once you've healed. But being hit emotionally, being hurt emotionally, stays with you for a very, very long time. And whatever you experienced, whatever you felt, is total truth to you. And that's why it needs to be healed. If you want to know about working with me on my programs, I do a 6-month finally free program to get you to heal all of these things that keep coming up, so you can understand how your childhood is still pulling the strings. So you can go back and you can validate how your little one felt, and you can heal your little one and learn how to reconnect and have that amazing relationship and give your little one that amazing relationship that they never had as a child. So the details for that program are in the comments too.